So I guess we're still in the 90s, because for some reason I'm thinking about, lay down your souls to the gods rock and roll, or as the title of this video, sell out your soul to the gods rock and roll. So the term sellout, I remember that back in the day kind of being more of a term that, I guess it's used now, but it doesn't seem to be as much, because then there's that forbidden M word band, which will not be spoke of, that once they cut their hair and stuff like this, they were deemed like a sellout. And maybe the appearance change could be something of sellout quality, but I don't really think so. And and lately, we talked about later Amorphous albums, bands of the caliber that they had one style, in this case of Amorphous, an old school death metal sound when they started out, and then later on they discovered themselves, I guess, because then the more longevity of their career, they became, a different style, a different style entirely from where they started, and then kind of stuck with that. So I feel to the period that I'm describing, that bands also that weren't the Forbidden M band, which is ginormous and larger than life, hence why they're forbidden, plus they stink, that it was that term sellout was used for even bands like that. And that's the part I'm kind of describing that I don't agree with, because I think for the Forbidden M bands of the world, the sellout is literally what it is. It's not so much a haircut. As a guy that's, had long hair and cut his hair, I didn't really. What did I sell out, by the way, if anybody would be accusing? Because it's you're describing something entirely different than if there's something negative to be said about changing your appearance. So selling out is literally giving up your dignity of what you were to then do something creatively in this context to then sell records, keep the career going. Let's keep this ship going. And that's what I am describing, because I don't think an Amorphous is entirely selling out, or a Corrosion of Conformity, who was once a punk band and then turned into, I don't agree with stoner rock, but people call it that, bands that drastically changed, insert examples here kind of thing. Some people seem to have described that as sellout, and I think that's something, I just think it's bands that changed and maybe found their voice of what, if it makes their longevity of their career more so of the style that they became from that which they started out with, then I think it's more a finding of a voice, and unless they did it purposefully to then sell records, which we do or don't know unless they blatantly said it, then that's just kind of an accusation from a disgruntled has-been fan, and it's not always entirely true. Where I'm saying the Forbidden M word bands and of their caliber, it is true, because then decades have now passed, and you're getting this new, maybe it's new, I think it's new, because music wasn't always recorded, the music's been around forever. So if it was 1800s plantation workers singing in the field, then go through all the different iterations of what music became, eventually when it became, be able to produce records, to record, to make a tape, make a CD, make a digital, these are all different iterations of what music became as an eventual product. So live music that I'm about to describe kind of could have always maybe been this way, because live music would have essentially maybe been the first product or iteration that music could have become before that you could record it. And so maybe a legacy band could have always existed to the degree that it exists today, and history is just slightly repeating itself, and the corporations that back, it makes me think of how there's a Pantera now, and it's literally 2/4 of the band. And Vinnie Paul himself, when he was alive, there's a clip of him saying how there'll never be a reformed Pantera because Dimebag is dead, and that's Pantera. And then like it was even said like, why don't you just get Zakk Wylde to fill in? And he's like, you can't. So like literally what the 2/4 is was cited by one of the guys himself that would have made the other 2/4 speaking against it. And now that he's dead, they're just cashing in and like bullshitting, because I've seen clips. I don't really care too much about Pantera, but like I'm interested in like how, is there this legacy that I don't think, because I've seen that video, that the guys themselves even would sign off beyond the grave. So they're either on a cloud or looking up from a brimstone. Like, what the fuck? As they put their faces on there, like, in honor of them. It's like, well, if you're really honoring them, watch that video, because he said, don't do it. Ha! But, now that he's out of the way, fuck him. Like, because that's and that's kind of like the disgustingness of the legacy band, that like, if you, the consumer, wants to pay top dollar to see 2/4 of something, that's on you. But then the gritty corporation or the musicians themselves that are doing it, like maybe they don't. I'm not like trying to talk ill about them. But so maybe they don't have this mindset, but like it's slightly hard to disregard that maybe they could have that mindset that like now that Vinnie Paul's out of the way, like, man, dude, we can really unlock some cash and do the legacy band because he's dead, he's out of the way. Like that has definitely had to happen for other stuff if it's not happening here. And that's pretty shitty, whether you're a fan or not. And that's, to me, that's a sellout. Sellouts look in different forms. The Forbidden M band, certainly, because they changed their sound just to suit in, and then they really showed it blatantly obvious with frosted spiky tips, or whatever the members of that band that I won't speak of did to like look like they were a product of that time. A lot of metal bands were like trying to keep up with the threat of grunge. Like people weren't so much into even the style anymore. So like they either became a grunge band or like became some sort of friendly iteration to then just sell a product. That's what sellout is. So anyway, back to kind of the Venom, lay down your soul to the God rock and roll thing, is like, is Kronos onto something, or is it just sound like a cool line? Because I was talking to one of my guitar students the other day, and I brought up the example of, Jesus, this door won't open. I brought up the example of the Phantom of the Opera. So if you don't know the story of the Phantom of the Opera, well, the original Phantom of the Opera from the 1920s, where it all began, and then there's operas and all these adaptations. So along the way, there is a movie with Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger, playing the Phantom, and the Phantom has like a mutated face and stuff, and so the Robert Englund one's brutal and it's awesome. Anyway, so the story of the Phantom of the Opera, Eric then, the Phantom, the ghost, haunting Christine, he essentially sold his soul to the devil to then like write the greatest piece of music. And the price for the devil to grant that wish was for him to be forever stuck at the opera house that he was confined to. And then he wanted to take his like beautiful mind, soul, and person, hence the mutated face and stuff that he hides behind that. And I think that's kind of, in a way, how you could slice the lay down your souls to the gods rock and roll aspect. I'm pretty sure Kronos was shooting for a cool sounding line. But I thought, at least when I was talking to my student of that, I was like, I think that's what essentially popularity becomes in a musician world, where it's like, we were talking about Rush for a second, and like how they could like be still doing it, and eventually like, Geddy Lee and stuff had said like he got burnt out or whatever. I was like, I think a lot of like bands, they get burnt out, but like they're so immersed, they sold their souls, that like there's either, like a corporate unit that's like forcing them to keep it going. Just shit like that, where it's like they either have no choice or they just have to like churn something out because they sold their soul to it. They gave up their integrity as an artist. and sometimes too, it's like, oh, they're the greatest guitar player or whatever. And it's like, they're really not. Like, if you took them away from what they're known for, like, are they a great country player? And it happens in so many different iterations. Like, look at how there's Morbid Angel with Steve Tucker, and then there's David Vincent's Am I Morbid? And it's like guys, just move on. Like, you're just cashing in on basically playing live music of the record, the product that lured people in. So, like, you're kind of a sleazy car salesman, I'm accusing you of. So, that kind of crap. And so, bring it around personally then, too, it kind of stinks, because it's like you fight to, like, go through and create, in my sense, like, Reaper Metal and all that. And, I definitely felt the burnout portion of it. And, there obviously was, like, I wasn't making videos for a while, and there's a zillion people that are always burnt out, like, oh, make HELLCAST again and stuff. And I was like, I could sit, like, time is not of the essence for one right now, hence why I'm doing it at work here or in the car to make videos. And, you saw me in the studio. I set up a nice studio and made professional looking videos and had a soundboard and all that. Like, if that's the HELLCAST that you mean, like, I physically can't do it, but slightly mentally can't do it, because it's either involving people that, you live far away from. Like, it's just, you change, I guess, and your aspirations do. And it sucks then to, like, get to that portion. So I can only imagine that if you're the forbidden M words of the world, or better yet, Rush, then, like, that laying down, you're selling out your soul to the God's rock and roll aspect, like, you would just force yourself to do it. And I couldn't just do that. Like, to put it bluntly, like, one of the things that made it possible, so that's why, like, I encourage you to, like, if you really like the old HELLCAST episodes, like, yes, some of them are on Spotify, but Spotify is, like, constantly deleting some of those. And while, like, you could be sitting on the other end, like, look at this fucking guy, like, telling me to donate $1 when I can listen to it for free on Spotify. Well, that's what's making it possible to even do this half-assed video in the first place. Why would, like, because then, like, Spotify is the ultimate scam. Like, they pay me nothing, absolutely nothing, for you to listen to the episode that I created. Like, so, like, to support it is very much on the table, because, like, go to YouTube, at least, like, I can make an ad revenue to continue to do the thing that we want to see, that we love to do, and all that kind of crap. Like, it's an absolute scam. And that's more of the ugliness then, that, like, the sellouts can look like a legacy band. They can look like an Am I Morbid, just, like, giving you an iteration of something that's, like, come and gone. And personally then, like, it can also look like just churning out content to make you go to Spotify. And that's actually one of the things that burnt me out. Like, HELLCAST started as an audio-only podcast when there wasn't, like, intelligent robots identifying that we were playing music, and now all of a sudden it's flagged and removed from your places like Spotify. So the laying down your soul sellout to Spotify is appeasing the man and solving a problem, because you need them, Reap, to be able to reach your audience and grow your podcast. Well, now that it's years later, then, and that's only, like, I'm giving you we're talking right now on YouTube, and there's a means, like, it's a better means, I'm for one suggesting here, but, like, Spotify, like, fuck them, dude. Like, because especially, I'm not gonna upload this video there. I'm already talking to you, like, and you're, I don't need to reach the audience through that, and they don't do anything for it. So why am I trying to grow Spotify? I don't want to bring them up, but it's a good example, because, like, it's literally somebody that, like, it went from one thing to another. So that unbearable guy Joe Rogan, when he got bought out by Spotify, keyword bought out by it, like, all of a sudden, like, there's a certain political figure that he literally, I remember there was an episode, I've listened to some of his stuff, And it got too much coffee and donuts, and then you just hear lips smacking. I got more so just like annoyed with his voice. But then when I saw this stuff, that was just like, oh, fuck this guy. Then it's on Spotify, and I don't even have that, so it's like it's not available on YouTube. You know, just needed some shit to pass the time, and fuck, I could just record my own damn videos and talk to it to pass the time. But it's a little bit hard to multitask because I got to get these orders going here. But nonetheless, like, literally just a blatant example of like, here's somebody that's essentially now that forbidden M in a different sense, or in this case, a podcast that was available on YouTube for free. Then all of a sudden he gets bought out by Spotify. Certain political figures that he said I would never talk to him because I don't agree with them are all of a sudden on his show. Then he's at the fucking, when they get elected, backing it. Like, dude, you were fucking bought and sold. Like, that's what the COC song Albatross, when they bought and sold you, right on, Albatross. Like, that's what he meant. Like, at least I'm seeing it that way. Maybe that's what Kronos meant, you know, lay on your souls to God. So that kind of shit. So like, you know, one, I guess, bring it back around. You know, it's not a shameless plug in a way, like, this isn't a video about like promoting myself either. It's just to kind of expand upon the idea of like sellout being more than just like a disgruntled fan of like, they cut their hair. It's like, it's more about that they changed their style. It sucked. We agree. And now you're being sold a fucking turd. And like, it pulls at some internal stuff. Like, I kind of do want to go see Am I Morbid? Like, they're going to play Altars of Madness. And it's just kind of like, it's on you, man. But like, be wary. Like, I'm not going to tell you that like, that's a horrible summer day. I think it would suck. I'm not going to go, even for free. So maybe that's the warning I'm getting, that there's something constructive to have about it. If not, you know, to even like be wary of like, if you create content in this internet world, if you're in a band or whatever, like, don't just give away your shit because like, look it a little bit thicker. Like, think about it. If you can get paid by YouTube to post videos, why would you ever post videos elsewhere that doesn't post? They want you to think otherwise, like, give away this data so then we can sell the next thing. You know, how do we have AI that's so intelligent? It learned from your data. You uploaded all your cat photos and you're taking a shit, or your meals to you liked Walmart on Facebook. You taught it everything. And what did Facebook do? They sold it to right back to you. They packaged it right up and sold it right back to you. Didn't give you a fucking dime. So like, there are definitely way different platforms that you could use. Obviously, YouTube's one of them. This isn't like to say YouTube's the greatest thing ever thing. It's just to say and give examples that like, yeah, if you're kind of taking this thought of selling out to a different level that I'm suggesting, this is what it looks like. And to be constructive with it rather than just be some, you know, is the Am I Morbid sucks and rag on David Vincent for wearing a cowboy hat or something, like, give you something a little bit more sustenance that I think you could apply to in life. With that being said, that is definitely a reminder that, yes, go to the old, I'm fucking getting rid of them off Spotify. I'm just sheer transparency. Like, that does not set right with me. They don't pay me shit. And this isn't entirely about money, but in a way, it's about enabling. I built Reaper Metal Productions so that I could further the music career that I want to have. I package records here. I fucking do cool podcasts. People like them. I make music with Crucified Mortals. I got 2 other bands that I'm trying to do. I always wanted to then cut out the fucking man. Put my money where my mouth is. I don't need a Spotify then when I can release my own music, you know, and reach my own audience. That's what I came here to do, and that's what I want to use it for. And if you like that, then please support that in the many different ways that you can do it. So you don't have to download those things that you could get free on Spotify. But since they're deleting those episodes more and more altogether, I might as well just cut them out and encourage you to go right here. And they're still going to be technically kind of free. Maybe it'll be a Patreon perk. Like, there got to be something like kind of bring it back around and do what it was meant for, and not just hand it over to the corporation of Sweden that is known for. Like, it ain't just me. Like, there's been much of a ragging. And when it comes to, like, you know, a band that digitally distributes, you know, to many platforms, Spotify is the lowest paying one. So like, their trajectory, in my opinion, is certainly to rob you blind and leave you with mostly nothing and just build their audience and then overtake so much that then like you can't even reach people and you need them, and then you just give it away because you need them. And yeah, fuck that. So let me know what you thought of that in the comments. That was a deep one, I guess. Was it not deep? Maybe it was. Maybe it was very informative. Fuck you, Reaper. I love Spotify. I'm going to get that free month and then forget about it and pay them exorbitant amount of money that I don't need for another streaming service. Whatever it may be, leave it in the comments below. Do you like Escape from New York? Snake Plissken better in Escape from New York or Escape from LA? All that kind of stuff. Live it be known in the comments, but definitely check out reapermetalproductions.bandcamp.com. Buy some stuff. Download some stuff, whatever you're doing, because you're not going to Spotify. You're supporting the channel and what we're trying to do here, or I guess what I'm trying to do. Well, Adam's here, so what we're trying to do here. So hell, I just mentioned Adam. If you haven't seen one of his videos, check out his videos. And when you do that, I will talk to you next time.